Selectmen's Board of Works and Safety. Roll call. Present.
Here.
Next, minutes of our March 7th meeting. Are they here?
I'd like to make a motion that we defer action on the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 5A, bid opening for demolition of a number of properties in Hamlin.
The first bid, we don't know which one he's bidding on because it doesn't say on the front of the envelope, from R.A. Orris Incorporated, 8244 Greenwood Avenue, Munster, Indiana. He has a cashier's check as his bond. He has his Form 96 filled out. And he has a non-collusion affidavit signed. And this is for, which project is this for? This is the one that starts with Alexander. So it is A. His bid is $129,450. The next bid is from Gary Material Supply, 7318 West 15th Avenue, Gary, Indiana. He has his Form 96 filled out. He has his bid bond. And he has a non-collusion affidavit signed. And his bid is $201,032. Next bid is from Gary Up Construction Company Incorporated, P.O. Box 64879, Gary, Indiana. He has his Form 96. He has his non-collusion affidavit signed. Assume he has his bid bond. And his bid is $379,000. I'm going to repeat, $379,700. Next bid is from JM Industrial Services Incorporated, 1 Marble Street, Hammond, Indiana. His Form 96. He has his non-collusion affidavit signed. Is there a check in there? That didn't slide out? see a bid bond on this one. I'll just read the bid and we'll determine that in the bid tabulation. His bid is $135,000. Is bid from Acton TRI, 1102 East Columbus Drive, East Chicago, Indiana. He has his Form 96 filled out. He has his non-inclusion affidavit, and he has his bid bond. And his bid is $220,565. Final bid is from, doesn't say on the envelope. KLF Enterprises, 2300 West 167th Street, Markham, Illinois. He has his Form 96. He has his non-inclusion affidavit. I don't see a bid bond. This is like insurance, doesn't look like a bid bond. Well, we'll read the bid, we'll have to determine that during the tabulation. His bid is $256,000. That completes the bids for item A. I'd like to make a motion those be referred to the building department for tabulation and recommendation.
All in favor? Next, another bid opening for demolition of Hammond properties.
There's 6 bidders. First bid is from Acton TRI. He has his Form 96, he has his non-inclusion affidavit, and he has his bid bond. And his bid is $144,525. Next bid is from Gary Material Supply. He has his Form 96. He has his non-inclusion affidavit. I don't see a bid bond. His bid's $163,088. Next bid is from Gary Up Construction Company Incorporated. Form 96. He has a non-inclusion affidavit signed. Is this the one that didn't have a bid bond on the last one either? Yeah. Oh, wait, here it is. Maybe this is it. doesn't appear that there is a bid bond. His bid price is $336,900. Next bid is from JM Industrial Services Incorporated. This is Form 96 filled out. He has his non-inclusion affidavit signed, and he has his bid bond. And his bid is $95,000. The next bid is from BD Sur and Backhoe, 531 Winston Court, Cherville.
I'm sorry, who's that?
B&D Sur and Backhoe, 531 Winston Court, Cherville, Indiana. They have a certified check as their bid bond. They have their Form 96, and they have their non-inclusion affidavit signed. Their bid is $236,190. I think that completes the bids, correct? Yes. I'd like to recommend those be referred to the building department for tabulation and recommendation.
All in favor? Aye. Next, 4504 10th Street, Mr. Bauer, come on forward with your client. I'm not sure because I couldn't see that address on the agenda.
It's on the agenda, I can find it.
Are you guys familiar with this property, Mr. Callahan?
Which address?
It's the Cockroach Grocery Store.
Oh, very well. We received about 50 complaints about it. I think it's on our emergency demolition list. Didn't have very much cooperation from anybody from the beginning.
Well, I think you're about to get some. Go ahead,
Good.
Mr. Bauer.
Yeah, after they find out we're gonna knock it down, then they're a little cooperative.
What's the address on this property?
Okay. Mr. President, just for some clarification here, this was an emergency demolition for 4504 through 4510 Holman Avenue. It was a supermercado up there by Gosselin Street. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Just a little background on it. The property was abandoned by the subtenant back in July of 2012. The Lake County Health Department went out and stickered it as uninhabitable, and I think that was in August of 2012. The issue being every bit of produce, pop, chips, whatever you would have in a supermercado was abandoned inside the restaurant, which was not climate controlled during the summer or the winter. The pops exploded. There's black ooze all over the floor, and apparently an insect infestation, which I do have the owner of the adjoining business here who wants to testify about the insect infestation, which started to swarm his property as a result of the unmaintained conditions at the supermercado. These pictures were taken in December of 2012 by our inspection department, who is available to testify, and it shows the entire contents of the grocery store in place where they were abandoned.
Let's let Mr. Bauer respond.
Sure, I'm just giving you some background.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. O'Connor, and thank you, Board. I represent the lender, Archer Bank. I was contacted toward the latter part of 2012 and commenced a foreclosure action. Also, to secure possession of the property, I had a receiver appointed through the court, Judge Davis's court. And that receiver is here with me today, Mr. Peter Hazafotis of Allied Realty. Mr. Hazafotis has been in the real estate industry for a long time. How long?
50 years.
50 years. He started when he was 5. And he immediately took control and secured the premises. I think a lot of the animosity I sensed a little bit starting this out is directed toward the owner or the subtenant. We're the bank, and unfortunately now at this time, we made the loan to these people to operate. But we put the receiver in, we immediately, because we had heard complaints and we received some form of citation, we immediately had the receiver take control of the premises and evaluate it. He said, and he can speak for himself, but he said from what he could determine from his physical inspection, there was no emergency present. So what we then did is sought out proposals to address the situation. Then we received this notice to appear today. What we've done, we have reacted in a proactive manner this whole entire time to secure the collateral for the loan that we're proceeding on. And in the interim also, we obtained a foreclosure order from the Lake Superior Court, and it will be placed for sheriff's sale. I believe it's June is the date the sheriff's office has given us. We understand the concerns. The city was kind enough to respond with photographs and listing to us last week when we were a little bit shocked by the notice that we received. We've taken a look at that. We don't wish to get in a huge factual argument. We have pictures with us today, too, to tender to the board, because what we've done recently is we've finally been in a position to secure Dragonfly Renovation. I believe they're an authorized contractor who have a license in the city of Hammond, and they have started on Saturday removing. I think much of the food is going to be donated to a food pantry. A lot of it was canned, so it didn't cause a problem. There was some pop that burst, so there's syrup on the floor that's being cleaned up by Dragonfly Renovation. It's my understanding now at this time, through yesterday, every food substance has been removed, and we have the photographs to show it. And in today, probably any liquids that fell onto the floor are being cleaned up. I have a copy of the proposal contract that we signed with Dragonfly Renovation. I think they've checked in with the city of Hammond and notified the city of Hammond the work that they were proceeding with. If I could approach, I'd be happy to tender this to you. Mr. Hazelfotis, maybe perhaps you can address what's been done over the last time.
Well, I've been going there since I was appointed in January, and I got into the building January 2nd, and I've been in there at least 12 to 15 times, and I did not notice any rodents or any insects or anything, rats or whatever. There was nothing in there. We started to clean up the place, and I was there yesterday, and I would say as of yesterday, 99% of all the food stuff was out. Like Mr. Bauer said, they're cleaning up the floor now where some pop bottles exploded during the summer. But as far as insects and mice and stuff like that, I never observed anything like that.
What's your request, Mr. Bauer?
My request is to dismiss this citation based on the actions taken and the fact that Mr. Ruiz, through his Dragonfly Renovation, has accomplished this, and we'd be happy to invite the city of Hammond in and their representatives next week. Mr. Hazelfotis will show them in with a key and give them a full tour. And we'd be happy to follow up because we paid this person to clean it up. If he didn't clean it up, we'll be able to enforce our contract again.
You put a terminator there yet?
Mr. President, the question being from the code enforcement, is there been an exterminator brought into the premises? Because even operating grocery stores have bugs.
I was just going to ask that question. It would be naive of us to say that anywhere where a sugary substance has been on the floor, there's no insects. I mean,
Well, I didn't see any, sir.
well, it's also 15 degrees, but it would be naive to come to the board and say, there's been food substances that have been left in a store unattended on the floor all summer long, and there's not been one rodent or one insect, right? Would you agree with that?
I guess the city inspection would easily confirm that, wouldn't it?
And we can always,
Yeah, Mr. President, perhaps the most prudent, I do have witnesses if you want to hear them from porters and from the inspector who's here, but if the board does not wish to hear them, we could set this over for April 25th, which is our next scheduled demolition date. And if everything passes inspection, we could dismiss the demolition action at that time.
I think, Ms. Cantor, here's where I was going is, can we get an agreement that there's a good possibility that there's rodents or insects despite the fact that you didn't see any?
Could be.
Okay. Would the bank be adverse to having an exterminator go in and contracting with an exterminator to do an assessment and remediate any insects or rodents? Because or I can have all of the neighbors come up and testify in a public meeting that your property has been.
No, you can't, I run this meeting.
I can petition Mr. O'Connor to hear from all the witnesses. I mean, it's,
Petition denied, let's get on over here. If we continue this to April 25th, left the violation pending, and have the city confirm whether or not there's a rodent, insect, or other problem, and if there is, remedial action would be taken. That's fair enough for
Absolutely.
everybody?
We're gonna sell it at sheriff's sale, and someone else is gonna go in there, and we don't need people causing problems.
Well, you've got the ultimate motivation here, which is preserving the value of the asset.
Absolutely.
I mean, Mr. President, there are some additional issues. Since it's been vacant, the window's been broken, somebody has stripped out all the copper, there is no power to the place as the wires have been yanked out its box. This is a powerless building. So there are some issues with the building.
the other issue is with the weather breaks, Mr. O'Connor. We have adjacent businesses that have common walls with them, okay? And my interest is for them. It's not for, no offense, my priorities don't lie with you guys. They lie with our existing businesses that have to deal with this property that you guys have to deal with.
And if I may inquire, Mr. Golick, I've actually have record of a resident who was actually forced to move out of her residence because of the infestation coming into her yard, into her home. They said there was cockroaches, like huge cockroaches, like none she's ever seen before. So, you know, I mean, it's,
Along with Dragonfly, you guys get an exterminator.
And all I'm asking is that the city confirm it, the problem.
I think we have those, Mr. President.
Well, Mr. President, let me call the owners of Porter's up here, and they can testify as to the insect infestation that their business experienced. Are they present here? Can you come up, please? Sir, would you please say your name?
Nick Porter.
And do you own Porter's, or do you work at Porter's?
I'm the general manager. My dad owns the building and the business.
How long have you guys been there?
Since 1951.
Okay. Can you tell us, were there any insects that came from the supermercado?
Yes, extremely. If anybody has walked past the building, before the building or the windows were boarded up, there was glass windows. There was inches of insects on the bottom of the windows. A couple of the windows have been broken, so they boarded them up. But we have employees that walk past there every day. Our buildings are less than 2 feet apart from each other. For someone to say that there's no insects in there, just walk past the place and you'll see them. We have our building exterminated on a regular basis. And this past summer, we had to up that just to keep up with the problem that we were having with flies through our whole building, flies and insects. We try to keep our building up, and it's been a constant battle with the building next to us.
It's been totally inactive until this lender intervened, isn't that
Correct.
right?
And yesterday, the Dragonfly, they walked over and said they were hired by the bank, I believe, to start cleaning out the building. They've started taking stuff out. I would question giving the food to food banks, because a lot of the food that they were taking out of there, I did see some of the dates on it. All the dates were expired. So that would just be a concern of mine, to just be careful where you're giving that food, because obviously that building has been closed up, and with the heat and everything that's in there, I've looked through the windows multiple times, and it's disgusting in that building.
Did I give you the picture? I don't know if you want pictures. If we'd ask for the continuance, we're happy to invite the city of Hammond in there next week.
Is it
We-
and we're gonna
satisfactory
deal with it
of
as
the
we go
order
on.
that they make a commitment to do this inspection work within the next week, provided?
We would just like to make sure that it's cleaned up. We obviously run a a laundry with clean linen and everything. So that's our concern. That's why I'm here today, is we just want, so whether that's,
And how long has this been a problem?
it's been a problem since they left the place. When we had the problem last
Couple years
summer,
ago, wasn't it?
I think it's going on a year, right? Going on a year, so we dealt severely with it when the weather was warm. We went through it all winter, and now, as we can see, the weather is starting to break again, and it's gonna just, I have a feeling it's just gonna explode with issues.
Let's be clear on one thing. The bank had no authority to go in there and even take a look until Mr. Hazafotis received the authority from the court, which was within the last close to 60 days or
It
so.
was actually November 29th of 2012. I have the court papers that show Mr. Dremenos was ordered appointing the receiver. So it's actually been since November. He came into the office, said he changed the locks, he was going to hire somebody, and then, you know, we didn't hear anything for a few months until this, you know, last month, February, March. So,
Mr. President, it reminds me of the bank and the receiver's been very proactive. In the short amount of time that they've had control of this property, they're making great progress. We appreciate that. I'm sure the neighbors appreciate that, and the community around the market appreciates that. It's not to sound like a broken record. I'm just asking for one more tiny, tiny little bit of proactivity, and that's to have an exterminator come in along with your renovation guy. That's all. That's all I'm asking for. In the interest of the neighbors, the community, and for you guys. It's going to be easier for you guys to get rid of your building in June, having a clean bill of health from an exterminator as well as us.
The receiver's committed to do it.
Thank you.
And we'd like a letter from the exterminator saying that the problem is resolved, like that in writing for record.
I don't,
They've been proactive in providing records from Dragonfly. I have no doubt that they would, when we come back for status, assure us that the exterminator has come in and done what they're hired to do.
When was code enforcement's inspection in the last year confirming the extermination problem?
We did not get in the building, correct?
It was the health department.
We were in August, July or August when we were in the building, originally haven't been in since.
Yeah, it was before July 30th, because that
So
was,
there has not been one.
not
Since
since
it's been
then.
closed.
We had no way of getting in.
Well, you have easy access now.
We certainly want to inspect it.
We went and inspected after the exterminator's complete, though.
30 days sufficient time for a continuance?
yeah.
Should we just go with the April 25th
Yeah,
date?
Mr. President, I would just recommend April 25th, that's our demolition day, and anyway, we'll have 200 other demolition files that day.
April 25th it is then. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have a construction engineering services agreement.
It's an agreement for construction engineering services on Amy Court and Amy Avenue. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agreement.
All in favor? Aye. Next, J&J Newell Concrete Contractors confirms the extension of prices of the 2012 sidewalk project for the 2013 year, and we'll just acknowledge receipt of that. Next, from British Petroleum Pipelines, they request permission to update the existing cathodic protection system for pipelines beginning March 8th.
Yeah, they are actually on their own easement, but this is for informational purposes, because they're gonna be working in that area right around Bishop Knoll High School.
Very good. Next, from Mr. Callahan, he advises that 6327 Forest Avenue removed from the bid process. Next is an authorization to transfer assets. And these are,
Mr. President, this is an authorization to transfer a vehicle from the Civil City to the Hammond Housing Authority. I'd like to make a motion to approve the asset transfer.
I'll second.
all in favor? Aye. Next are a number of disposal authorizations from the police department.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the disposals of the
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, Mr. Driscoll requests a continuance of the 7141 McCook Avenue hearing for 60 days. Is that okay, Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
And that is continued to that date. Next, Mr. Matthews is requesting a deferral on demolition of 7514 Columbia.
Good morning. Happily, it's not a grocery store. I've talked to Mr. Kearney about it. He asked me to bring a copy of the deed. The property was sold in December to one of the tenants that live there, Judith Gonzalez. She's a school teacher, has a son, and she's committed to restoring the property to a single-family residence. No other tenants live there. She and her son are the only ones that live there. They've had a contractor come in, waiting on a contract to do the electric, plumbing, change some walls, do some structural things that were noted in one of the inspection reports. So I'm hopeful that once we get that listing of the contractor's work, I can meet with the building department, come up with an agreement and a time frame for renovating the property. And do you want the city attorney to have a copy of the deed? So I'd
What
ask,
type of time frame do we need?
would 4 weeks come back on your,
April 25th.
Good, April 25th?
that'd be fine.
Thank you. Rental registration hearing, 6814 Nevada Court.
How are you? My name is Barry Christopher. I received a failure to register City of Hammond for certain years, 2010, 2011, and 2012. In 2010, I was actually a resident of the property in question, and I have some paycheck stubs and some proof of that I lived there. 2011 and 2012, I moved away and gave my wife. She was in control of the property with the real estate agent, and we're separated now. We're going through a divorce. She didn't register, didn't do any of that. It's my fault, obviously, as well, but I'm asking if the court can, will waive the 2010 because I was a resident there, and I can prove that. 2011, 2012, I can show where I moved away out of the state of North Carolina. I'm asking if they can waive the late fees of $500 or at least.
Mr. President, my information is that the individual standing here received this property through the homebound program. And as you know, there are requirements that he's to live in it for 5 years, and I was wondering if he contacted the redevelopment department to discuss his obligations to repay that loan since he has abandoned the property.
Was your wife in possession of this property pursuant to an order of the divorce court?
No, we haven't even been that route yet. We've been separated for 2 years.
Okay. You're both owners of the property?
Yes.
Is she living there now?
No, she's not.
When's the last time she lived there?
As well, when I did in 2010.
Has it been rented to anyone since that time?
Yes,
Is it
notify-
currently occupied?
currently occupied, yes. I'm here to catch up for this year. Like I said, I moved back into town, so I was not aware. I was in North Carolina for a year and in East Chicago for a year. And since she was in control of it, I was letting her, do whatever it was. But I'm here to make reparations for it. So I just am asking if they can waive some of the fees because I wasn't aware. As soon as I forwarded my mail, that's when I received a forwarding from East Chicago stating that you're behind on rental registration. I called her about it, and she said she didn't know, she didn't care, and she's not here. I'm here, deal with it, things like that. So
Mr. President, he received money from the city to purchase a home to live in, not to purchase a rental to make income off of.
well, that was our initial intention. Yes, we lived
Did you
there.
contact redevelopment and let them know that your intentions had changed?
No, I did not.
And so now he's asking for, not only the city bought the down payment for his rental, but he wants the late fees waived because he didn't register his rental.
What did you receive from the city for down payment assistance?
I believe 2,000, 2,500, something, 2,000. But like I said, the wife was in control of it. If I was, I would be doing. I would have taken care of it a while ago.
how long had you had the property?
Since 2009? Whatever you guys would like to do, I'm willing, I'm here now. I was out of state, so I need to make it right now. ...2010, I was definitely a resident, though, so that shouldn't have been an issue.
Make a motion for late fees for 2010, 11, and 12, or 11 and 12, be waived, and the unit be registered at the regular rate of $80 due to the fact that Mr. Christopher is an business being landlord. However, also that the redevelopment attorney be noticed that the potential for a breach of a contract for the homebound program has occurred, and that action be taken to recoup any money of that same matter.
I'll second.
I do have a new address I'd like to update, so how would I just take care of it? All right.
Just a minute. Where does your spouse live now?
Miami, Florida. And it's keep telling.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you for coming. Next, notice of appeal on rental registration finding for 4311 Torrance. That's acknowledged, and we'll see what procedure he does. Next, an emergency order to return the letters, March 12th.
Set it for 8/11.
That's fine. And this is 915 Michigan.
Good morning. Curtis Vosti for the owner, Gary Anderson. This situation has been, I guess, developing since the end of January when my client received notification, when my client went into re-register his 2 units, and then received a notice that the city wanted to come and inspect. He called, and the city came in and inspected, and on February 22nd, and on March 11th, the power was shut off. In the interim, I believe I've seen them, but I'll take a look at them. No, I haven't seen these. I've seen some of these, not all of these. You know, I've been in communication with members of the city attorney's staff since February, frankly, 22nd and 26th, regarding the notice to shut off the power, or the threat to shut off the power. And my client has expressed interest and has contacted electrical contractors. We were waiting for some written material from the city. I was expecting that things were going to be handled, frankly, talking with Inspector Saliga at a March 21st hearing, and that was what I had conveyed to the city attorney's staff. And then all of a sudden, on March 11th, NIPSCO came and shut off the power. And certainly we had, and then we had even been in court on March 7th on citations on litter and graffiti that had been addressed. And at that time, 2 business days before NIPSCO was out to shut off the power, nothing was mentioned about this. We want to have communication with the city. We want to have a unit that is safe and that meets what needs, but this rush to shut off power before we even had a chance to sit down is, and you've got 2 children in the house, and I just think that this is something we want to be able to sit down with the city and talk about and figure out how to address this. We had not seen anything in writing from the city, and I had been on record as being this property owner, Mr. Anderson's attorney, since February 22nd, and certainly would have expected that the city would have communicated with an attorney of record before having the power shut off on a property. And we're asking, excuse me, we're asking the board that pending meeting with the city and coming to an agreement on how to address the situations, that the power be turned back on.
If I can
Well,
give a little...
is there a safety issue here? Because I don't think it's gonna be
I have
turned
not,
back on if there's a safety issue. And
well, the
this
point,
looks like a mountain of safety issues here.
well,
If I may give a little background on the situation and clarify a few things. On February 22nd, was a Friday, we met with the owner, did the inspection. Upon that inspection, I found some electrical situations that concerned me enough that I called our electrical inspector to take a look at it. We have multiple types of wiring being used, open, exposed wiring. He came, did the inspection.
when
We
was
talked-
that?
If I may.
When was that?
That was Friday, the 22nd.
Okay.
After that, during that inspection, we spoke with the owner, told him that we were very concerned about the electric. I was concerned about the rest of the electric that we couldn't see, the part that was covered by the ceiling of the basement apartment.
There's no apartment in the basement.
Now, no longer.
There hasn't been for several,
May I-
20 years.
May I?
Well, you're making
I'll let you speak.
assumptions.
Okay, well, the ceiling, from whatever it was tore down by the owner. Our electrical inspector had made arrangements to meet him on a Sunday morning, on his own time, to take a look at the rest of the electric. I explained to the owner on Friday that if the electric is in worse condition than it already is, we would cut that power. We marked the house uninhabitable on that Friday because of the electrical situation. Because it's a 2-unit, it doesn't have fire separation. On Sunday, on Monday morning, the electrical inspector came into my office, explained to me that the wiring is indeed worse than we feared, and we ordered an electric cut on that Monday. NIPSCO failed to cut it on that Monday. Later that week, we called NIPSCO again. Why is the power not cut off to this house? Didn't get a response. We later talked to the spokesman for NIPSCO, explained the situation to him, emailed him those pictures, and he sent someone out to cut the power. So the power was supposed to be cut off following Monday from the inspection. So we would have been handling the situation at that point. As far as why we're here today, we're also going to be here, I believe, next week for removal of the second unit because of the electrical and the fire separation issue. No permits to convert.
Are we going to receive notice of that
That was
hearing, or
no
is it just going to be in another ad hoc
I'd say you just
action?
Here's the you have to understand, there are conditions that are life-threatening, and we're not gonna go back to the office and sit down and write a letter to Kurt Bosky or anybody else jeopardizing someone's life, safety is the day.
I don't
How about this solution, Mr. Bosky, that this board orders the immediate restoration of power upon your client's furnishing a certification from a licensed electrician concerning the electrical condition and safety?
I'm not in favor of that at all. I do not want any liability of this property being repowered when people are staying in there, especially the two children that he spoke of. I do not usually take this action.
Well,
there's-
we
if I may-
can't decide that he never gets the power on.
He's going to have to get an electrician in to fix it before the power gets on there.
We would like,
That's what I just suggested.
right, and we're asking
If he'd have
for,
done that Friday, if he'd have done that Monday, we could have worked with him in making it safe enough to have the power back on. Instead, he hired
Well,
an attorney
we,
instead
we,
of an electrician.
we can't change those problems. We're looking
he
for a
hired an,
solution here.
he hired an attorney to try to get some clarification in the communication. There's been animosity between Mr. Kearney and the property owner. We wanted to cut through that and get clarity on what the issue is. We need to see what the electrician, he had contacted an electrician right away, okay? We want to see a written list from the city of what's needed. Now, Mr. Kearney has threatened to shut off and has said this has to go back to a 1 unit. I understand and I appreciate his position, but we need to have some discussion on that matter. An electrician can't go in if he's not clear on if he's dealing with 2 units that have been there for more than 40 years that this family has owned this property, or if he's going to go in and make it into a 1 unit as Mr. Kearney wants to have happen.
Code is, he needs to bring it up to
Your
code.
client's request.
He'll bring it up at a code as soon.
Your client's request is that we restore power to these conditions that presented to us.
Chief Electrical Inspector Bob Group.
Gentlemen,
I cooperated with your client as much as I possibly could, going there on my own time, at which time.
When did you go there Sunday?
Sunday,
When?
10 o'clock at our scheduled appointment, which he did not show up
Let him
for.
finish his statement.
Okay.
Which he did not show up for. I waited for him until 10:30. I went in and inspected the lower front unit of the apartment, in which case you have a second set of pictures there for. This is not something that an electrician is going to walk into and just fix overnight. This house needs to be totally rewired. He did not tell his tenants about the conditions. He did not tell his tenants that the property was posted. He has
Was post, what does that mean? I'm sorry.
posted with an uninhabitable sign that we did Friday the 22nd.
They were there when that was
The
done.
property is actually marked uninhabitable a year previous to that.
May I,
Yeah,
It was-
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. What we would like to do is get the power back on and get an electrician in there with a list from the city of what they want to have done, so the electrician can know
I will
what
not
to.
approve power back onto that building until it's rewired.
Well, the point is, I've been in contact with the city since February 22nd, trying to figure out what needs to be done.
A
He
total rewire
contacted,
to the house.
he contacted an electrician. Can we have that in writing so an electrician knows what they're dealing with?
The electrician contacted me
Wait a
already.
minute, just as far as the contact here, what contact or effort has your client made to get a qualified electrical person in that building?
He did have a contractor there, gentlemen. The contractor agrees with my assessment of the situation for a total rewire. In addition to what you see there, there were tenants in the upstairs apartment, and the contractor that your client hired proceeded to inform me in an area that we did not, I did not have personal access to, that as he walked across the kitchen floor, there are appliances plugged into the kitchen outlets that arc and sizzle, as he put it, as you walk across the floor. That is not a condition I will allow to exist if I have any control over it at all when children are involved.
May I have a second?
Well, I'd be a little concerned about adults, too.
Adults are capable of fending for themselves in the case of a fire. The hazards in this house that are in the basement, which represent the bulk of the area there, are now accessible for adults, but not children to reach. But that doesn't account for the wiring in the rest of the house.
Isn't the objective to prevent the fire in the first place, whatever the
Yes,
age of the victims?
most definitely.
That's why the power was cut.
That's why the power was cut.
And again, this is my client wants to cooperate. We've been trying to cooperate with the city. Let's get, he informs me he's contacted 3 electrical contractors, got a wide disparity in what the bids are. We'd like to have some more clarity. This obviously is something urgent that we want to work with the city on, but we would like to address this in a proper way, and we've been waiting for communication. I called Mr. Kearney the day they were out there, February 2nd, 22nd, never got a response from him. I did get a call back from Mr. Saliga. I talked with him briefly. I was in court with them March 7th. And there was, on this property in regards to some graffiti that was painted over. No mention was made about, hey, you know, power is going to be shut off, or has that been taken care of, et cetera.
And if I can explain that, while he was referring,
No, just a minute. These discussions are of no concern to me. This is a safety issue, no matter what the discussions were, and I don't care what they were.
Is there anybody in it now, Mr. Rossi?
There's tenants there now.
worked on inhabitable.
We have tenants there now with no power when it's 20 degrees at night.
Well, people do what they have to do.
Start fires.
Mr. Rossi, the city just testified that there's an immediate threat to life and safety by turning the power on. I can't make a motion to turn the power back on if your client still has tenants in there.
We understand the city's position. We thought we were in communication with the city, and the city was communicating with us. They obviously weren't in the time.
You would have been in communication.
I
had your
obviously
client
didn't
been
get
there at
through
10
very
o'clock.
well. I don't care what the discussions
As
are.
far-
This is a
you know,
safety of a
we had
resident.
tenants there waiting for you they were told 9 o'clock. They were
Mr.
told 9
Groby.
o'clock, they're there from
I've got a
anyway.
question. If a licensed electrician went inside this building, how long would it take him to fix this problem so that the power could be turned on? Couple of days?
2-3 days to do the.
So what are we arguing about? Get a licensed electrician, have him go in there, fix it.
We'll do it.
Bring it up to code, and I
This
think
is
the
the
whole
first
problem's over.
communication we've had, and I appreciate that. Now, it's 2 to 3 days. Can we have in writing what he needs to do?
How much
Isn't
simpler can
that
we
what you
make it
get your
than
own
rewire the
electrician
whole
for?
house?
Gentlemen, this is also coming up in front of the board to be returned back to a single-family home, which it was originally. So
Well-
if they want an electrician to come in there, my advice would be to wire it as a single-family home.
It'll
because that's
have
gonna be our-
That's not something that should be agreed to at this point. We want to make it
So we
safe.
can't do anything until we get to that situation solved.
The request is to turn the power back on. Is there a motion on that request?
I'll make the motion to deny the request for the emergency order to turn the power back on.
So,
I'll second.
when can...
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Secondly, Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion that the building department furnish to Mr. Vossi by the end of business today in writing, a punch list,
Bobby, may I inform you of something first before you make that decision?
I can't make a motion to have this building owner just randomly do work so that he can come back and say, I've done work, turn my power back on, and have you guys say, well, that's not enough, we want more. They need some sort of direction, they need a list from you, a punch list of items to
No.
do, so that they can have a contractor come in.
So we,
You can't tell me that's impossible.
no, it would have to be a complete rewire.
Okay, then you need to put it in writing, that they need a complete
Well,
rewire, and.
He's made the motion, the discussion is over, and I'm not so certain that it's the city's obligation to explain a person's obligation to comply with the law.
Well, Mr. President, the one thing I want to point out is that we have Mr. Kearney's viewpoint, it's got to be rewired back to a single-family home. We also have the fact that it is a 2-unit under current rental registration. So the question is, do you rewire it back as a 2-unit or as a 1-unit? We're not prepared to, and I don't think it's fair to say rewire it back as a 1-unit when that has not been determined.
A safe electrical for the building.
That's fine.
Isn't it the same whether it's 1 unit or 100?
I just want to be clear that it's going to be safe. It's going to be safe as it is a 2-unit registered rental registration. Mr. Kearney can do what he wants to try to force it back to a single family. That's a decision that can't be made today.
That's correct. So we can't tell the electrician what to wire for if we are not having
So-
determined what it's gonna be.
Well, there's,
We need to just make it safe. Bring it up to code, make it safe, and then we're done.
We'll be happy
I
to
don't
do
see what
that.
the argument's all about.
We'll be happy to do that. I mean, that's what we've been trying to do through our communications with the city.
We have to determine, the board has to determine whether it's a legal 2-unit yet or not. They'll have to rewire it for 2 units, but if the board makes a decision later on that it's a single-family home,
we will give you an expedited hearing on this 2-unit issue.
In the meantime, there's 1 or 2 families with kids living in here, so.
We'll get people there and get it safe once we get with there. Thank you.
Well,
Appreciate
they're
it.
gonna have to vacate for that.
Appreciate it.
There's a motion to deny the request to order the power back on in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
4839 Elm Avenue.
Contact you downstairs, or can I give you my card and you fax me the rest? Or how do you want to work that?
You know, Rick,
Make it safe so that, or I'll just have the contractors.
Drive 80 miles an hour on
Standing policy that the building department does an inspection, they furnish the contractor. What they do is the contractor.
An electrical like this would be kind of tough to.
I'm not used to responding to address. No, he just said, I didn't realize he said 48. Oh, I'm sorry. They haven't given me stuff. What? I understand.
What we said for another?
4839 Elm.
Yes, Your Honor, for the record, excuse me, President, record Foster, James Foster for the owner. We've been in communication with the city attorney's office. Myself and Attorney Cantor agreed some time ago that prior to today's hearing, she would supply me with some discovery and some issues. Our purpose being, we had agreed this would be a status hearing to see whether or not we were going to need a fact-finding hearing. I've just conferred very briefly with Ms. Cantor while standing here, and she doesn't have the information yet. And she and I, subject to your approval, had agreed that we would set it over for another status while she gets me that material. That
25th enough, Ms. Cantor?
That would be fine, Your Honor. I just don't have anything to give him. Hopefully I can get the building department.
Thank you, Chris.
April 25th.
Thank you.
4834 Ash.
Could we, excuse me, just, go away. Just very quickly here. Our prior understanding, and myself and Ms. Cantor have no issues concerning, or no disagreements concerning this issue. Could we have this for another status? If it gets to the point we have to go to war, we'll come here and pick a date that we'll have our witnesses present. I suspect we're going to have it resolved,
We
but I don't,
discuss issues, we don't have wars there, Mr.
Well,
Foster.
a sad misuse of terms.
Do you
Contest.
need an additional status after?
Yeah, we were just going to set up for that status on that date. If we don't have it resolved, then I would like on that
Well,
date.
would it better serve everyone if the status is a little later, so we're not making dual appearances here?
I have no objections, President. If you want to bump, we're,
60 days?
Well, in the hope that we'll get it done, why don't we set it for status then, and perhaps if we don't need to be here, we could just write and request a fact-finding hearing.
is that your only copy? Or is that my copy? Okay, here,
For a hearing, you want to set it for a hearing that day? I'm just trying to avoid getting ready for a hearing if we don't need to have a hearing. May 9, you're suggesting? Chris, is that?
yes, sure. Which property we on, Mr. President? I got three people talking to me.
You know what? Let's leave it for the 25th. The May 9th, I'm going to be in the federal building with Judge Moody, and President will appreciate that he wouldn't defer to this.
No, I don't.
I consider this word far superior to Judge
And
Wood.
I would think that you're correct, but I'm not in a position to tell Judge Moody that.
I'll make you a copy.
You'll get me that?
Yeah.
We'll deal with the 25th.
Very good. 4834 Ash.
Gary Matthews, I represent the owners. Jimenez, that property is vacant. They're in the process of restoring it to a single family. Talked to Nick about the work that's been done so far, and it's about ready to allow somebody to start living there. We figured another 4 or 6 weeks, check on the status of the work being done, and hopefully we'll have it finished by then.
May 9th.
Thank you.
And I've also got the next one, 4754 Elm.
Yes.
That was a 4-unit that's being converted back into a single family. The only occupant in it is the owner's mother, and he's given me authority to enter into an agreement with the city for the removal of the second kitchen on the first floor, the second bathroom on the first floor, kitchen and bathroom and all interior walls in the basement, so there would only be one remaining bathroom in the basement to use as a rec room. So I'll put that agreement together and hopefully be able to get it presented to the board either in 4 weeks or...
April 25th, it sounds like.
That's fine.
I believe the attorney, Mr. Murphy, would like a continuance till April 18th, if possible.
Granted, 833 State Street.
How you doing? I was supposed to come in here today to show that I have a building permit to get the work done in the basement of 833 State Street to remove the rooms down there. I have a copy of that, and I also have a copy of the receipt from the Office of Controller.
Has the work been started yet?
Yes. He went in and started the work in the basement.
Any idea when it will be completed?
No, not at this time. I can give him a call today and find out when he suspect the work will be done down there, but I know he's already been in there and started doing the work.
6 weeks enough?
Yeah,
May 9th.
okay. Thanks.
4928 Magnolia.
We're asking for the removal of the basement apartment. The apartment actually has already been removed with a licensed contractor. Just need your signatures.
All in favor? Aye. 4618 Oak.
We'd like a continuance till April 18th.
Granted.
Thank you.
260 173rd Place.
Hi, I'm the owner of the house, so I got a copy of what they're gonna do there, and also the permit.
We're asking for the removal of the basement apartment. He has a permit and a contract to do that work, so we're asked for the board to affirm our findings.
This is 4618.
The permit's been pulled today, yes.
This is 4618 Oak.
260, 173rd.
Oh, pardon.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 264 to 266 Florence.
There's a continuance requested on those, right?
Yes,
April 18th it is.
Same thing with X. There's a continuance requested on X.
Same date, April 18th. 829 Field Street.
This is for the removal of bedroom from the basement. The owners have agreed.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? 520 Highland Street.
This is for the removal of.
President, I'd like to make a motion finding the order for 520 Highland Street be affirmed and that the property be set for status on May 9th.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. 4928 Magnolia.
That was item C. It's already been affirmed.
4736 Cedar.
Like a continuance till May 9th.
May 9th it is.
Thank you.
.4841 Elm.
We're asking for the removal of the second floor apartment in the front house and a garage apartment, no permits to convert, and fire separation issues, submitting the findings and orders.
I'd like to recommend that we do that.
Concur in the recommendation. .851 Indiana.
I believe Mr. Cook can speak to this. He submitted plans and drawings to convert his, or to keep his property a 4-unit, and that permit was denied. Therefore, we're asking the board to affirm the removal of the basement apartment and 1 second-floor apartment.
I'll recommend that we make that affirmation.
Concur in the recommendation. 7423 Madison Avenue.
Good morning. I purchased this building 15 years ago off of a German builder that built like 8 properties on our block. So when he built this house, there was always a second floor apartment. I got some pictures to show you that everything's been separated from the beginning of when it was purchased, when it was built. that there's 2 gas meters, 2 electrical boxes, 2 hot water tanks, 2 furnaces, ductwork's all in the walls going to the 2nd floor. It's a little apartment, a 1-bedroom for like a college student or something, but it's always been an apartment ever since I've owned it. And I used to rent the house behind it before I bought it because he turned like 90 years old and his kids wanted to sell his properties. His name was Frank Ruth. He's been in Hammond a long time. I could show you the pictures of all the stuff of the upstairs, showing you everything was separated. It's not a makeshift apartment up there. It's been an apartment since he built it. He told me. He built eight homes on our block alone. He owned the post office on Calumet Avenue. It used to be a grocery store. And I used to help him out when he got too old. I was renting off him. Then I started buying a couple off him because his kid said he was too old to take care of him. So they were telling me the upstairs isn't an apartment, but I've been buying stickers for it for as long as they were $10 a sticker back then. But I didn't register it for a sticker this year because my nephew's living up there free. I got a divorce and I'm living downstairs, so I didn't get a sticker for the upstairs or downstairs. So if I could submit some pictures to show you.
I'm familiar with the property.
Frank Ruth owned all them buildings. He built them.
The property is listed as a single-family occupant home. There were no permits to make that second unit apartment there. We have no indication that there have ever been any permits to make that a single-family home. The pictures there show that there are sloped ceilings in the living room.
It never was converted. It was built as a 2-apartment building. I got pictures here that shows. It's always been rented out as a 2-family building. It's got 2 furnaces, ductwork. It's got 2 gas meters. It's got 2 hot water tanks. It's always been a 2-story. You cannot change that after it's been a single. Not the way this house is built. Plumbing, electrical has all been separated from the beginning. I've always had a sticker for the upstairs too.
Whether it's 1 or 2 units, is it in compliance with the various electrical and other codes? Ever been cited?
Never. It's got 2 entrances, the side and the back for fire. I got pictures right here.
That's fine.
Mr. President, perhaps it might be prudent to continue this matter and give them some time to work it out, because if nothing else, maybe we can make it. If it's not.
It's nothing not safe. There's never been a citation.
Then you'll have very little to do.
Right, okay.
What day does Mr. President want to use, 9?
May 9th. Be in communication, and then you may be able to get this resolved without return.
Okay. You need to make an appointment for you to come back out. Okay, so we'll have to make a date for you to come back out.
Next, 4610 Pine. Is that going to go forward or be continued?
This one is, Mr. President, we're trying to work out an agreement for 4610 Pine Plan, the 28th of March. We're going to work on a written agreement.
Well, is that adequate time?
Yeah, that's just fine.
Very good. March 28th. Agreement to rehab property, 1150 Summer Street. What, 1150 Summer?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that the agreement to rehabilitate the property be approved.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Next, from Ms. Cox, 811 116th Street, who requests residential parking only signage.
I'd like to recommend that that be referred to Gary Gleason.
All in favor? Aye. Next, Mr. Gleason advises on an issue at 6641 Illinois that the city does not erect snow restrictions for vehicles in residential areas. Whoa, what's a snow restriction?
No parking when snow's in excess of a certain amount.
Thank you. Next, Whiting 4th of July Committee advises of street and roadway closures, 8:30 to 12:38 a.m. to p.m. on July the 4th for the 4th of July parade in Whiting.
Motion that be approved.
All in favor? Aye. Next, the Park Department requests a fireworks display approval on Friday, July 19th and Saturday, July 20th for the Festival of the Lakes.
I recommend that we approve those dates.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, correspondence from Scott Mitchell concerning 1050 Drackert and 1007 Lion Street. Let's just defer those for review and a response next week. Get familiar with it. Next, from Ms. Gilliard, requests a street closure around Martin Luther King Park, May 18th for a 5-mile heart walk.
I'll make a motion that we approve the closure.
All in favor? Aye. Next, Councilman Higgs requesting additional lighting in the alley between the 1000 block of Morris Street and Highland Street.
I'll make a motion that be referred to engineering.
All in favor? Aye. Next, garage sale permit for 3337 173rd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Matters from board members, department heads, new business, old business, public expression.
Man, I'm sorry. I represent, I think it's Gustav Vega. His was up number CC, and I was out of the room. We had been here in January, and I had talked with Matt regarding, we got it continued till today. I was expecting to receive information regarding what the inspection was. I haven't received it yet. I'd like to get a new date and sit down with Matt and get the information we're looking for so we can properly address what the needs are here.
April 25th, code enforcement.
What are we looking for here?
4841, I'm looking for inspection reports and, you know.
Did you do a permit history on the property?
Excuse me?
Did you do a permit history? How do you talk to the assessor and find out if they had permits to convert that?
I'm waiting to hear from the city what exactly what the problem was, and
Okay.
Matt and I just need to get together.
There were no permits for the conversion of the house to a 2-unit or the garage to an apartment. We're going to ask you to.
Are there any documents in existence then?
We've already submitted the file to you.
Was it submitted to Mr. Vosti?
I have not. He has not contacted me regarding that address at all.
I'm sorry, I was here in January when it was originally scheduled. We talked, and I asked him for it. I'll put it in writing if that's what he wants.
I don't give much credence to these petty disputes. Let's get the document exchange done and get the matter up to code and conclude it.
April 25th?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any others for public expression?
Good morning. We are here to announce we purchased a home from the List B of demolition. We're gonna remodel anything needed, you know, so that home can be
The address.
441 Lewis.
What's the address?
441.
Do you own the property?
We own it now, yes.
What you're gonna have to do is speak with the lady right to your right.
Okay.
And hopefully enter into an agreement to rehabilitate the property, and that will stay the demolition. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for undertaking.
I'm sorry?
Thank you for undertaking.
Oh,
No problem.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any others for public expression?
Good morning. We purchased a property on 839, 841 Chicago Avenue.
Could you state your name for the record?
My name is Roger Torres, and we purchased a property on 839, 841 Chicago Street. We just purchased it on February, and we got a notice of demolition. We would like to request time to get a general subcontractor to go and see the building to see if we can demolish, we'll pay ourselves. And if it can be fixed, if we can fix it, then that subcontractor will
Your representation, you'll pay for the demolition if it can't be rehabilitated?
yes, either or. So all that we're requesting is a little bit of time.
How much time do you,
A month will be reasonable.
May 9th?
May 9th.
Good luck.
Thank you.
The demo, I believe.
Yeah, they're also concerned that the facade on that property is about to fall down into the street. So, if you need,
You better go fast.
well, I guess, Mr. President, my point would be that the board is, that we've gone through the demolition hearing, and we've gone through the bid process. If you have a concern, you can contact Kurt Cook immediately, and we'll go through that, just as we just told the folks at Corporation.
That's Mr. Kurt Cook and Code Enforcement all the way downstairs.
April 25th, date is for status, because we're going to have the demolition fund again.
So
We may move forward with demolition at that point, but,
What we want to do is get a subcontractor. If that person says it's not worth it to fix it, we'll go ahead and pay ourselves. We don't want the city to pay for it. We'll do it ourselves.
Our intention is to move forward. If he's going to stop it, he's going to have to do something fast.
Is that a brick facade in that building?
It's
Well,
It's real dangerous.
I'd be willing to give him a little bit of preferred notice if he's willing to pay for the demolition.
we can work through the payment of the demolition, we just don't want to delay the fact that we've already gone through the process.
But you see,
Understood.
all that we want is to understand, we just got the building.
I understand you've got the building, but you obviously got notice.
The person just surrendered this notice to us yesterday.
I understand that they have a duty to let you know that it's under demolition. I
So-
mean, that your remedy would be with them, not with the board.
Right. All that I'm requesting is a month, and within a month, we'll get over with it. Either we fix it or we just demolish it
Will
ourselves.
that property be demolished in the next 30 days?
What we'll do is we'll talk to Mr. Callahan, we'll let him know that the new owners want to talk, and if Mr. Callahan wants to hold the permit, we can do that. The bid
Very
won't
good.
be ordered until next week anyway.
So how long time do I have?
I wouldn't say any longer than April 25th.
Okay.
But we're not guaranteeing, you understand, sir, we're not guaranteeing that we won't knock it down by then.
Because it starts to fall, we're taking it down.
If we get our subcontractor, he'll come and get the permit. If, okay, that'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public expression?
Good morning. I'm Daryl Tunis. I spoke to Mr. O'Connor, I believe, a couple of days ago on the phone. He advised me to come here to speak to all of you on the Board of Public Works. This is in regard to property at 1531 Brown in the Robertsdale section. I didn't have a chance to speak as thoroughly as I could last time I was here because someone showed up here, and I believe I brought that up, but I didn't bring his name up. He is an employee of the federal government. He unduly, and him and the lady he's working with, is unduly influencing my wife at separation. Now, the thing is, there had been people in code enforcement in the past that claimed the property was either unoccupied for 20 years or 10 years, and I've tried to say city records would prove it. There was also court records. I was even living at the property when we had joint custody with the children here, even in early 2012. I was at the property in early June 2012. When I was out of town, someone called the city about an open door or something, and some problems. I guess the Lake County Health Department came in.
Are you requesting relief from a
What,
pending
here's what
demolition
I'm
order?
requesting.
Clarification, 1531 Brown, authority
Yes.
to confirm for demolition, he did not appeal within 10 days, because he knows the property is more than sold on tax sale. Back in the summertime, the neighbors called and said that they thought there was a dead body inside because the house was full of flies and the front door was open. The health department went in and investigated and found out that somebody, maybe Mr. Timmons, maybe not, was living there without the benefit of utilities, and declared the house uninhabitable and sealed it. Based upon the fact that it was uninhabitable and sealed, he put it on the demolition list. It's already been affirmed. It's already been bid. It's complete.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Tunis.
First, if I may comment,
No, you may not.
there was,
There's a demolition order. That's important. The background is not important anymore.
here's what I'm requesting. The property was broken into. My wife, and when my child called me and said, when I was up there with the children, I had the second grade homework with him that I had him in school. He told me that mommy had the papers. I fear she broke into the house when I was gone, took a bunch of stuff out of the house, and that's what, when this person showed up at the hearing, I tried to say something. I'm trying to get someone from the federal government to go with me in the house to verify what has been done in that house. Supposedly, it was boarded up on the front
The federal
door.
government has no authority to do this. This is a municipal matter.
Chris, who even owns the house now?
It's owned by a tax sale purchaser, the guy,
He put a,
yeah, it's Al Service. Service?
So he doesn't have any say in it.
yes. Yes, I appealed that tax sale pending an investigation. That is still pending with the federal government. And that's what I was referring to when I when I indicated early on this morning, I spoke to Mr. O'Connor on the phone, and that was under appeal, that tax sale.
Which has absolutely.
But-
Be quiet for a minute.
Yes,
Which
sir.
has absolutely no relevance to a demolition order concerning the unlawful conditions of that property.
May I speak?
Yes.
In regard to certain comments, there was utilities on the water department. I'm paying a water bill. The NIPSCO, when I was out of town, for some reason, turned it off. I put a deposit on. There should be utilities on in that house. It obviously was on. I got NIPSCO bills from 2012. When it was turned on, I don't know, or why it was, I don't know, but I put a deposit in NIPSCO. I believe it's $99, and I got a receipt. I can come up with that. I don't have it on me, but
Doesn't make any difference.
but the thing is, I got a lot of property in that house, and I'm sure it was broken into because of what my wife did before. One of the things that she did was throw a laundry basket out in my other property in the yard to say, ha. And my son told me there's certain things that was in that house that now mommy has. And all I'm asking is, when I drove by the house.
You have no authority over your private property disputes, domestic or otherwise. Our suggestion is to you is to get in that property and get your things out because it's going to be demolished and soon.
Again, I'm just asking as Christian brothers and sisters here, I want someone to go with me to verify, someone from government, because she was not an American citizen, to go with me into the property. If I have to, even local police. I've worked with the Community Affairs Office in Hessville, Hammond Police Officer Scott Holbrook in different affairs, to go with me to verify how the house was. And I also have, as an elder went with me from one of the local churches on how the house was, to where if anything has been damaged, this or that, I'll get a police report to verify what was either taken or shown.
Well,
Because when
we have no interest in seeing those documents. It's going to be demolished. Is there a motion on the request for relief from demolition?
I'm just requesting that you wait, and I'll be happy to give you every week to give you a report. That house is not falling apart. It needed paint. That's,
That
you know, and
matter's
anything else.
been- That matter's been determined, a demolition order's been ordered, there was no appeal. It is going to be demolished. There is not gonna be any change.
Well, my understanding also, if I may comment, is when there was a Board of Public Work meeting, someone brought to the attention that there was a tax sale and that was under appeal. So at this point, my understanding, it is not demolished, there's no order, other than getting this worked out through that tax sale appeal.
Your understanding is incorrect.
Well, I don't want to debate with you, Mr. O'Connor, but you know,
Completely entitled
my
to your
thing
own
is,
opinion.
wait, if I may, I'd like permission within the next couple of days. I want to get to the U.S. Attorney's Office, discuss something further with them on this, and then if I could call you back and let you know the status of that. As I told you on the phone, I've met with Assistant U.S. Attorney Gary Bell on this a time or two, on a couple of the different legal matters pending on federal situation.
Mr. President, I don't think the board should be giving any advice about entering the property. It belongs to L Service, who will be getting the tax deed in April.
I'll state again, there's a motion for relief from an order of demolition. Is there a motion to grant or deny?
Mr. President, I thought the matter had already been adjudicated. The appeal period is over, and so the
Well,
board has no recourse.
there's a post-judgment relief in many instances requesting relief or vacation of a judgment. That's their motion.
Oh, then I would like to make the motion that the request be denied.
And I'll second that.
May I?
All in
Aye.
favor? Aye.
I have property in the house, and I want to make sure that I can go in the house.
Well, go get it. We're not part of your domestic situation.
Well, I also, there was a board on the front door.
Meeting's over, Mr. Tunis. Your statement is over.
God bless.
Is there another public expression person?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.